Right, morning everybody. So welcome back to NZ Mopo Outlaw Customs, well, or whatever I want to fucking call myself. It's been a wee while since I've done a video. So I did that little car show the other week. So when we were, before that, we went and had a look at a little Morris Minor to do for a lady. It was a friend of the lady that had a little yellow Marina that we did some rust work on, did a couple of mechanical services, did some brakes on it, painted the boot lid and a few other bits and pieces while we did the rust work, because it looked rough and shabby. Put tyres on it, did the upholstery, well, got the upholstery done, put carpets in it, a few other things. So a friend of hers reached out to me a couple of 3 weeks ago and got a little Murray Minor, 62 it is. So yeah, last Saturday we went and had a look at it. Finally got a chance to look at it. The weather's been reasonably decent since. So we went and had a look at that. It's got a few issues. Hasn't been running and driving for, I think, around 25-30 years. But it needs a full going over. They want to do the upholstery and everything. It's got quite a bit of sentimental value. You know, it's more like one of those cars. It's not worth a pile of money, but it's, you know, it's a, I guess, you know, it's, if you're into those Murray Minors and some of the English stuff, it's, you know, it's a pretty cool little car, I guess. But I suppose it was, I think this lady's, I don't know if it was her first car, but she's held on to it ever since. Was mainly parked up because it had some electrical issues, and then also it was starting to get a bit of rust in places where they failed it for safety inspection here, what we call it, a warrant of fitness. Obviously back in the 90s or wherever it was. So they're going to drag that over to me this morning. I'm just heading down to the workshop. We're going to hook back into that van and see if we can make some progress on that. And then when they turn up, which should be in about an hour-ish, maybe a wee bit more, yeah, we're going to go from there. So yeah, I've been pretty busy at the other workshop, doing all sorts of things, fixing buses and trucks and frickin' all sorts of shit. Still working on that Charger, Valiant Charger. I threw a couple little clips up in one of the last videos. I just don't want to put too much up of what I'm doing there. That's not my business, so I just, you know what I mean? I just don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I just think I would picture in there if there's something interesting. You know, probably not going to hurt. But anyway, so we're just at the workshop. So yeah, and also Mrs. older boy, he picked up a, I think it was 2004 Nissan Maxima the other day. It's got a couple of little minor issues. It drives and everything fine, but it's weird, at low RPM, it's got like a miss. It's not really sure what it is, because when you're under power, it seems fine. It seems like it might be a little low in power, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I haven't driven one, but I've driven other like 3.5 litre V6s, and they all seem to have reasonable sort of power. So yeah, it's just one of those things. So it seems to be a little low in power. It's got a bit of a miss. You know, there wasn't much in the price range of vehicle that he was looking at to try and get into his first proper set of wheels, I guess. You know, it's reasonably tight. It's done 100 or 220,000 Ks, which is, yeah, it's getting a little bit up there, but it's nothing crazy. I'm hoping it's not too much. It's obviously, I don't think it's like a coil or plugs or anything, but it probably needs plugs. Who knows? With being one of those front-wheel drive V6s, you got to take the intake manifold, the top part of the intake manifold off to get to the back plugs. So I think we'll do that at some point shortly, and give it a service, like change the oil, change the filter, change the intake filter, yeah, a bit of those, few of those things. And so when we're obviously get that stuff off, we'll have a look at, we'll obviously look at the core packs, make sure there's no burn marks or blown out holes or anything stupid like that. But I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's, I don't know, I've been playing a little bit with some research. I just haven't done anything in the last couple of days. But when he first, well, because I went and had a look at it with him, and there wasn't much, unfortunately, there wasn't much else to look at from that price range, unless you're buying like somebody's bought a racer car that had been lowered and frickin', like, not that it's a bad thing, but you know what I mean, like you're getting into somebody's beta that are thrashed or whatever, whereas this was a mid-30s couple that was, had bought another vehicle and they were selling this one, obviously because it probably had some minor issues. They just didn't know what to deal with, how to deal with. But we took it for a drive. Trans felt reasonably solid in it and all that sort of shit and that. And I gave it a decent. When I started up, I thought, oh, it's got a bit of a miss. We'll take it for a drive anyway. See what it's like. Got out in the open road a little bit and gave it a decent footfall. And I was like, oh, it seems to be right. It seems to be right under power. It's weird. It's got this weird miss when it's just cruising around at low RPM or sitting there idling. So, but when you put the foot down, it seems to clear. So I don't know whether it maybe have a vacuum leak or a crack in a vacuum hose or something weird like that, or maybe there's a sensor like playing up or dying or something like that. Maybe possibly a crank angle sensor, or I don't know, something to do within the what do you want to call it, emissions or something weird like that. It'll just be a matter of doing a little bit more research, and we'll throw a set of plugs in and give them a decent oil change and see if that makes any difference for a start off. Plugs would probably be the main thing that will change anything. Also, we can check the coils, make sure there's none of them going bad. That may be under cruise or just under idle. Maybe the spark could be tracking, like on one of the casings that go down into the head, or whatever, but under power, it may not be quite so noticeable, if you know what I mean. Not likely, but yeah, it's a possibility. Cars do weird shit, especially late model stuff. Like, fuel injection, all that shit is good when it's fucking working properly. But when sensors, and especially on the more modern stuff, when they start playing up, it can be a real prick to find. I don't see any codes coming up on it, or any warnings, lights or anything like that. So that makes it difficult to, because like I have got access to a scan tool, so I could plug into it and scan it, but that makes it, if there's no shit coming up on the dash, it makes it very difficult to scan, because you're not going to get anything unless it triggers one, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it's just a matter of whether we nosy at it. If it does come up with a code at some point, we can plug it in and scan it. There's a scan tool at the workshop, I think, or maybe maybe the boss has got one. They were talking about that the other day. Somebody was asking to see if they could plug in their truck into the scan tool to check a couple of things to see. Like, I don't think it's a high end one, but you know what I mean. Like, it at least gives you a code, and I think you can clear some codes on it and shit. It probably depends on the make and the model of the vehicle. I don't think it's a very expensive scan tool, but it's still a scan tool, so at least it might give you some idea what's going on. So you would do that. But anyway, I want to see if we can maybe get this freaking bottom piece at least started. I want to cut up. We started making a bit the other day. We'll get in there, we'll talk about it. Right, I'm just not 100% sure where it's at. This is the first piece I was making. Where is it? Struggling with this piece. I'll go grab a chair. yeah, so we're making this. Trying to refresh yourself, but it's this piece here which wasn't lining up with this edge of this original piece. So I think what I was doing was trying to make it so we didn't have all this material, and then I couldn't get it to do what I want. So I think what I was thinking now was I was going to split this down around this seam, so on here, make this piece fit down here and follow this line down the section, and then make this piece line up with that, and then cut just down here somewhere randomly, just, you know, so we get a bit of overlap. We even cut it back up here somewhere, cut this piece off, still use this because, you know, we've got 3/4 of that made, but make this piece fit here first, you know, down here, where we can actually get some shape into it and make it fit this contour without fighting this bit, and then we can shape this piece easier, you know, even if we cut this back, because then I can shrink and stretch it as much as I want then, and work it to get it to fit back up to this. I think that's the plan. That's the easiest way for me to do it, just with the tools that I've got at the moment. Right, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut this back a little bit, because we've got plenty of material in here anyway to join it into. So I'm going to just cut this back, I don't know, maybe half an inch off it, whatever. Just cut it back a bit so I can stretch this edge just to get it to curl to meet that. But before we do that, here's the other little blue moray. So it's got a lot of surface on it. It's got quite a bit of rot in places, but it's pretty original. It's all, as far as we know, it's original paint. apparently she remembered the other day at some point she might have had a bump in this back corner, so that guard might be not original paint. It looks like it might have held its luster a little bit longer. It is quite scabby and around the back window and stuff, but we're not too worried about. It's obviously got some rot in here. This boot lid's, I would say, stuffed. It's how bad some of this is. I don't see any holes right through at this point, but back guards can be replaced, doors can be replaced if need be. They don't look too bad from this point, but we know there's some rot. I think it's there's a bit of rot down in here and stuff. Like we're expecting that, but the interior's stuffed, but it's all still there. It's a complete car. They did actually put the crank handle, because it must have a slot for the crank handle. They actually put that in there and they wound the motor over, so it's free. So it's half a battle. What front guards? Well, the back of the front guards are stuffed, but again, we can make that panel and repair it. If that's the only rot in that guard, major. If it's the only major rot in that guard, or fender or whatever, that's repairable. Might need some. But the doors look, at first glance, look solid enough. It is what it is. It's not screaming that it's really bad. There's a lot of surface on it, Some of these may be holes. We'll get it blasted. I'll strip this piece by hand, and I think the rest will just get blasted. Bonnet looks, for the most part, pretty solid. It's probably got a little bit of rot around there. Again, this back part of the guard's stuffed. But I think generally the doors seem to be okay. There could be a hole here or there in them, but the guard's a bit fucked around the back. There's bound to be some rot in the boot and shit like that, Not too stressed about stuff like that. It's the main structure. It's the main structure in the in the chassis subframe. Oh, you can smell the whole fuel. Stuff like that, if you know what I mean. It's quite a savable old girl. It's quite savable. What is that for? Well, the interior is really complete. They want to redo everything, so we've got good upholstery to match it from. It's got, you could probably, I don't know whether, so it's a bit weird that maybe the front seats have been repatched, recovered, I don't know, or they might have been changed, but if we do the upholstery like the back, we'll run it past her, if we do that like the back, the door panels, and we do, the two-tone, I think it'd be quite neat for the little car that it is. There's a thingy in here somewhere. Where the hell is it? But it looks very solid in around here. I don't see, it doesn't look like it's really rotten anywhere. You know what I mean? It's a pretty honest little car. It looks rougher than it is, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of surface, but I think once you actually get it cleaned up, get it back to bare steel, we'll find the worst of the issues. Whatever. But it's quite an honest little car, to be honest. you know, it's got a little bit of stuff, but I think if you actually hooked into this, for the most part, I think it would actually wouldn't be too bad. It's a few bits like this that are possibly concerning, but you know, if we have to make a little shape up a wee patch and put in here and there, and maybe, you know, we might have to do a few repairs around here. The worst of it seems to be sort of a little bit of stuff around here, and obviously, you know, we're going to have some rotting around the guards and shit like that. You know, if we have to put some metal in there, it is what it is. Although I think as long as that understructure is not really savage, you know, it needs a lot of repair, I think we'll be fine. So, yeah, it needs some work, but this is rolled off the trailer, so you know, we'll have to go through everything. You know, we'll replace all the black lines and everything. You know, that, like as they said, it's been at least, you know, 30 years since it was on the road. Like this last. This is before. Doesn't matter. Before we had the stickers in the windows. So this is like 94 was the last time it was registered, and whatever these warrant stickers are. Safety inspection. Oh god. How's that? Oh, it's okay. So it's 93. So this was probably 94. I would say was the last time. And it says it's done. Was it dead on 70,000? Jesus. 70,000 miles. Exactly. What's the fucking odds of that? Oh, can you see that? Probably not. Look at that. Dead on 70,000 miles. Like, that is about to roll over. Well, it's rolling over to dead on 70,000 miles. What's how ironic is that? But yeah, so the first mission is to see if it runs. I'll disconnect fuel tank or hot wire it, because I said that was part of the reason why it come off the road was electrical issues. So you will hot wire and disconnect the fuel, throw a bit of fuel down the carburetor, see if it's got spark, and we'll see if it will run for, you know, at least for a second, and then if we can get, if it will fire up, at least then we can set to and try to get it to run for, you know, a few minutes and get it to half decent heat cycle on it and see if it will come up to temperature and not boil or do anything stupid like that, if you know. But we'll worry about that later. That's another day. Probably over the week. You might come down here at night and just have a little play. You want to carry it on with us, so we'll do that. Righty, I'm just having a look here. Just at what's going on here, because I just want to lay that piece over top, but I'll just want to make this fit better. I need to put more curl on this. You might have to do this bend a bit further there, up. Just don't quite like the way that's 100%. Maybe put a bit more bend in this too. Just so it pulls up a little higher instead of bending down so much. And I might, that bracket on the inside, because we re-welded it on here, it might be a little low, so I might end up cutting it and lifting it up at, you know, a minuscule amount so it tucks in. I'll get rid of this whole one. This here, it barely goes above this. Maybe if I just, because it's bending down, or I might cut it here and here and bend it around so this doesn't bend in. I might just slacken this off and see if we can get it to bend so it's not pulling down, and then we will make this fit this contour a bit better, and then we can get that on, fit that over top. If we get that done, we'll bugger off the stuff. We'll finish up here this morning. We'll be right, I think. Righty, so I'm pretty happy with the progress on this. Now we've actually got a panel that fits that back guard. It needs a little bit of clean up, but I actually even rolled this piece here in English wheel, just run it through here, just put a curved die in here just to sort of smooth this off, and then I just put one of the flat ones in loose and just run it through here a few times just to try and smooth this out a little bit so it doesn't need quite so much filler, if you know what I mean, to make it pretty. But you'll get that tacked in. I won't worry about routing it down here just yet, but what I might do after lunch at this point, we'll see how we get on, but I might come back down here and zap this in a bit better, clean up this tape off the back at least, so I can weld it a bit easier instead of fighting with the tape. And then I might see if I can get those two holes located for that bottom bracket for the bumper support thingy bracket. So I'm going to pick up these two holes here. So I know that it's not quite in line with this, it's close-ish, so I'm not far away. I did before, so this was, I can't remember where the original bend was, down here. I pulled it up to here, well actually pulled it to here, and then I just lifted it just to probably another 1/4 of an inch, 4-5 mil maybe, just in this corner, just to flatten this off, just to take a wee bit of bulge out of it, and just put it in a little snugger on that bracket, and it fits pretty nice across there. I'm not 100% sure about that hole, how tight it fits against that, but it's really close on here, so I'm hoping with a little bit of, this will flex a certain amount, so hopefully if we can get the one hole located, what I'll do is I'll get in behind, I can see in here, we can mark the edge, we can draw a line down here, we can have a quick measure in, get that one marked, then I'll better sit down, see if screw this back in place, see if it's in the right place. We'll just put a pilot hole, even like a 4 or 5 mil drill bit through there, or whatever 1/4 of an inch drill bit. Mark that. I'll better sit down and get an eyeball level where the other one is, put a rough line through here, and then we can get as long as our other hole's pretty centre, I can just do a quick measurement across, and we should be within a big stick or two of the other hole, and then we can just open them up to what's needed. And then we know that this fits, and we can do a final dial, but then we can actually start concentrating on the back corner of it. And like I said, with having that little marina here now, so I haven't done anything with this for ages, I haven't asked for any money, but we're basically caught up to date to where the money was. So now that I'm starting to do a bit more work, we'll obviously get a bit that corner built, and there's a few other spots to do, and then hopefully we can break into some filler work and get this thing cleaned up, and whatever. So I might message this guy now and just say that we're making some progress again. Can you send me a few dollars? And then these people here, I've got to send them a bank account, and so basically the plan is for that is I've said to them it'll be about $5 grand ish to get it stripped down. Obviously we're going to spend a little bit of time just to get the motor run, hopefully only a couple of hours or so. Make sure that runs, give it if it will fire up with just throwing a little bit of fuel in the carburetor. It's actually got an electric fuel pump, so it's in the engine bay, so might just be get a little bit of fuel hose, put it in a just a regular fuel can, run a bit of fuel hose into that. If the electric pump will work, if that works, we can just prime the carb, see if it will work. We'll go through, we'll just rotate the engine ourselves again, just double check that, might pull the rocker cover off quickly, make sure all the valves are working, make sure there's nothing stuck, and then we can just hot wire the ignition, see if we've got spark, and see if it at least bark off, as Derek from Islip says, and then if that will bark off and sort of sit there and idle without too many issues, then we can just let it run and check the coolant. Not that it matters, but we can give it a flush. We might throw a couple lots of water through it just to. We're going to pull the motor anyway, but we'll check the coolant, see if it's circulating, whatever, just so it doesn't cook itself. You know, we might just let it run for, like I said, 15-20 minutes, let it get a good heat cycle in, and then I think what will happen is next weekend I'll start stripping that down, and because I'd like to see if I can get this corner, I wouldn't say buttoned up, but if I can get this mostly built by the end of this weekend, with obviously hopefully some sort of fucking break, that'd be nice. And then, yeah, then we can spend a bit of time on that, get that running, strip it down, just tear the doors off. We'll get all the major components off it, obviously get the whatever, strip the interior out of it, get the suspension and shit, rip the wiring out of it. I'm going to see if there's a new harness available for them, see if somebody makes one. You know, if we can get a direct replacement harness, we'll just tear all the old stuff out, whatever. I'll try and keep it complete, but we'll tear it all out so at least we might be able to mark things, and if there's, you know, all that sort of shit, better cross-reference, because we know it's got electrical issues as it sits, which is, you know, corrosion, whatever. Yeah, but at least when we get it back together, if the shell's obviously reasonable, you know, and not a complete mess, you know, I'm expecting rust. That's fucking no two ways. No fucking qualms about that. But at least if we can, what do you want to call it? Strip down, get it blasted, and then if the shell comes back, it's reasonably solid. Obviously, apart from a few issues that we can see, you know, and I can probably get the guards, you know, back guards blasted, the doors blasted. You know, I'll just strip the outer stuff myself. I want to try and get a decent paint sample off it, but we'll probably better get that off the front guards. I might actually get my little hand buffer and just give it a bit of a buff up. We want to try and get a similar colour, but maybe with a bit of pizzazz in it. We might spray it in base coat, clear coat, or something like that, if you know what I mean. And maybe see if we can get a little bit of sparkle on it, but try and keep it the original colour, if you know what I mean. Maybe even get a bit of pearl in it or something. We'll just see what she wants to do. But she said, yeah, I'd like her to keep it there close to the original colour, but maybe just put a little bit of something in it, so it's just not a, you know, exactly plain Jane, whatever, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it needs everything done, really. We'll assess, obviously, chrome and whatever, you know, see if we can find some better stuff to replace, or whatever. For the amount of chrome that's on it, it probably wouldn't be horrendously expensive to get it done. I wouldn't get anybody to do it down here. We'll send it to Timaru if we do, or sorry, Geraldine. But, you know, we'll see whether, you know, obviously some of it will polish up, and some of it will need done. I think you can buy hinges and shit like that, so if we can just direct replacement for decent stuff, if you know what I mean, whatever. Again, you know, hubcaps and all this sort of shit, but yeah, all we're going to do is get it running, strip it down, and see where the body's at. You know, blast it underneath, and, you know, we'll give it a decent run around on the inside if it's too bad. You know, we'll just see. Maybe we can leave the hood lining in. I don't know. I haven't had a real good look at the hood lining yet. She looks reasonable, but we'll see. But might have to do welding up around there anyway. So, but yeah, we're going to replace 90% of the interior fabrics and get all the rest of it reupholstered and obviously repaired or whatever. But yeah, I think it's quite savable. We obviously know it's got some rot around the back wheel arches and shit. It's definitely got rot in here. You know, that's a given. It's just how bad some of this is, unless it's surface, you know. I might get bored later and just whip around a few spots and just check a few of the nastier looking ones. You know, we can repeat with windows and shit like it. It is what it is, if you know what I mean. But it's that main bulkhead and structure and floor plan stuff and all that sort of shit. You know, we can do a few repairs, but as long as the fucking thing is not completely rotten underneath and it's a complete throwaway. But I think I think for the majority it'll be pretty solid. You know, it's probably got a bit of rot down in there in the door jambs and shit. Yeah, we're kind of expecting that. But again, we'll just have to see what happens, you know, when we get it all apart. But yeah, it'll be a fun little project. It'll take me a while to do because it's, I'm doing it at nights and weekends, but I don't mind. It's going to keep me funded, a bit extra cash. I can do a few projects. I'd like to do something myself. We'll see how that pans out. You know, we've got a little bit left in this. You know, gonna have to check this other side and whatever. Maybe dig into that. I don't know. I'll just see what he wants to do. But I don't think he's too panicked either if he has to spend a little bit more than what he thinks, so we can just pick away at it. But yeah, I still have that taped up for a pattern, so that's cool. But yeah, if I can get it off now. But yeah, we're getting closer. We're getting that corner close now. Well, that first part, it's just to weld up and get it fitted, but we need to build that other bit too. Right, catch you later. I'll go to some lunch and then I'll decide what I'm doing. Right, morning. So I didn't get back down here yesterday, Sunday. So I just wanted to do another couple of hours on this van and try and sort another couple of bits and pieces out on it. We'll try and start get this corner made anyway. So the plan is now, if I can get that tape off the wall, and we'll try and we'll start building this corner. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to tackle it, to be honest, with trying to get this corner to come around. But I think I've got a rough idea in my head. I think what I may do is, because we're going to end up with a big flat piece, obviously it's going to be on a flat piece of metal, and this is going to end up with quite a curve in it here, so I'm thinking maybe we'll pull it, we'll cut a section out of it in here and pull this around and curve it, and when we pull it around we'll end up with a bit of a triangle in here that'll be missing, and then we'll make a patch and we'll shape it and put it in. That's kind of my thoughts at the moment. Hopefully you've seen that. So yeah, but we can pull a bit, we can make a flat piece, put the curve in it, and then yeah, we'll pull it round, and we'll cut a triangle so the bottom pieces will pull back in and meet, and we can get a bit of shape in them. So we've got to get a little bit of shape in them, and then we'll just put a little filler in it. I was hoping to get a once I get some cash in this, in the next payment of this, I want to buy a planishing hammer and stuff like that, but it doesn't. Unfortunately, the ones that I want to buy, they don't come with a frickin' thumbnail shrinking die. I'll get my brother to make up some dies and I'll shape one up, just for all the bit of shrinking I'll do for this sort of thing. But like, it won't be hardened, but it'll fucking do for what I want to do. When I'm making a few panels like this, and I better shrink. I would better shrink that up if I was making a solid piece. But yeah, I know if I go the step up from the bottom two tiers of just like more of a hand style one that's on a stand that I can pull off, but it's a big jump in price. It's like goes from $400 or $500, $600 to $2,000 or $3,000. It's a massive jump to the next step, and then it comes with all that shit. And the guy said, unfortunately, for those bottom tier ones, we don't have access to a thumbnail shrinking die. Like they are around for other different variations, but yeah, I don't know whether I can get one here, if you know what I mean. I might do a wee bit more research because I want to buy some other tools off them as well. And hopefully in the next week or two. But yeah, I'll see if I can pull that tape off, if it'll come off. It might, now it's been on there for fucking ages. And we'll lay it on some material. See if I've got a piece here that I can lay it on. Oh yeah, I'll get that out of there. We'll see if we can lay it on here anyway. And we'll turn that into that, but reverse. Let's throw it in the tripod and get into it. Sure if I mentioned this yesterday. So this is the blank that you get that's rolled. Yeah. Just change subject for a second. So this here needs the piece to put in here to pull the wheel together. And then it also needs 2 beads of welded all the way around for the lip of the wheel when you push this rim onto the actual wooden wheel, and then for the little lock bead to push against. And these actually need clamped in a lathe or something like that, and then a welder set up, and then spun and built up around these 2 particular spots, and then it will need machined off somehow. I don't really know how they're going to do it or what they're going to do. Yeah, it's just unfortunate. It's just, I reckon those wheels when they were originally made, they would have been just flat steel and probably quite thick, and then they were forced through a set of the steel would have been heated and run through a form, and it would have put all those ribs in it from the factory, and then obviously has to get out the other end, probably hot. They probably would have been rolled and then trimmed off. Then a pack. What's going on there? What the fuck? Righty, I'm kind of buggered. I've got no power, and unfortunately I don't have a cordless grinder, so I'm going to go buy one for this reason. So at least if I do have a power cut, because I've got that Makita Impact here that I've got, like I've got plenty of wall chargers here, like, but because the only owner of the building, or a lot of his gear is Makita, so I bought this and I got this 6 ampere battery, and I barely, like I use this, but I barely use this, if you know what I mean. Like I haven't charged this in ages, but I only bought it because it was cheap. So yeah, it gave me a start to a battery and a skin at least. So what I might do is go buy a 5-inch cordless grinder. So like we'll have 2 corded ones. So yeah, I can just have, this is the cutting disc one for when I'm just cutting panels or whatever, and then I can actually set the other one back up with you know, the flappy wheel or whatever, just for, or grinding wheel, for when I'm grinding or cleaning up panels, or, you know, just permanently the, and just have the cordless one as a, when I'm nicking panels off or whatever. Just might be handy, I think, and in situations like this, where if I do have it in my power, I can still shape something up. Like I can't weld or anything either, so it's a bit of a pain. Like I might come back down later on if the power's back on, and whatever when I come back. But yeah, kind of is what it is. I can't do fuck all until I get some power. So I started shaping that panel up. I was going to put the bend in here, but then I realised that this from here, that distance from there to there down to here, is way greater than here. So I made the panel at this end, where I cut it off, I've shaped it a bit more to the shape of this outer piece, which I've got over there. So you will have to work out what the transition is from here to here, and we'll fold it on a rough angle from here to here. We'll see if we can get it close, and we can adjust that a little bit here and there. So you will get, it's tightish there, but we're going to end up cutting a section out of it anyway by the time we shrink this edge, this turnover, to fit this, to fit that radius. Because what we plan is at the moment, we'll shrink that edge and get it to curl around. And if we cut a bit out, and we might, actually I might, do I leave it flat? Yeah, I don't know quite what I'm going to do here yet, because this will come a certain direction, and then we'll have to start curling it around as well. Yeah, but we're flat for a reasonable distance. If we put a bit of curve on here, and if it's flat, we can just manipulate it a little bit. We might have to put a little slice in it to get it to come, and then we'll make a separate section in here, you know, and it'll be a sort of a triangular sort of piece, probably more that sort of triangular sort of piece, and we can beat it and shape it and whatever. And actually, if we get the planishing hammer within the next week or two, or week or so, depending on when we get some funds from these two, because the planishing hammer is not that dear; it's only $400 or $500. What we can do once we actually get it tacked and welded, start getting it welded together, we can actually planish it, and then we can fit it, and we can refine it and get it actually really nice and cleaned up. Would be nice to do this too, but it might actually better poke it in to that tail light, and we might be actually planish some of this fucking backyard and just improve the situation, so it's not so much filler in there. Would actually be really nice to have a fucking planishing hammer, or when I'm doing repairs or whatever, you know, on the body and whatever, you know, we can planish it around that. If we have to cut some sections out of the back around that back window and shit, but it'd be really nice to have a hand-out planishing hammer, whatever. So yeah, it'll be freaking handy. So yeah, we can shape this panel, get it really close, get it stitched together, and we can probably even planish it. Yeah, planish the pieces we're going to weld it fully, if you know what I mean. Before we even weld it together and keep test fitting it and get it cleaner and smoother, and then we can do a few more welds and keep it really get it really shaped up and cleaned up. And by the time we actually get it fully on, it'll be almost a seamless, clean panel. It'll take a wee bit of fucking round, but you know what I mean. It'll be a good piece to practice on with the planishing hammer when we get it here. I'm definitely getting one. There's a few other tools I want to get to. I want to spend about $1,000 or a bit more on some tools. So yeah, that's the plan anyway. But anyway, I can't do fuck all. Got no power. No, my luck, I'll bugger off and the power come back on, but that's alright. We'll come back later. I'll go get a cordless grinder skin, so at least I've got a battery here. If there isn't any power on, I can store it all fucking around. But if we get some power back, at least we might be able to tack that panel back together. I wanted to spend about 3 hours down here this morning, but I can't. But anyway, we'll go do something else. Mrs. wants to go by town and buy the kitted bike helmet, so this other one's got too small, so we'll do that, and I'll buy a skin from a grinder. Righty, so went to town, got myself a grinder skin, obviously just using my normal 6 amp hour battery. Pretty good. I'll leave the guard on. I might cut this one back to just so it's not quite so intrusive on doing body work. That's actually one of the reasons why most people leave them off. That are doing this sort of stuff. You see a lot of guys doing it. I know it's not ideal, but they kind of get in the road when you're doing this sort of stuff. I've got some lights on. And, I'm going to make this camera. Alrighty, we might call it here for the video. So I got that far. Excuse me. We got that far, I tacked it sort of together. I knocked the worst of the tacks down and I run it through the English wheel a few times to try and smooth it out. So I think what I might do is, because a lot of my hammers and dies, I only bought a couple here, because they're all at the works, at the body shop. I might take this to work tomorrow and at lunchtime for even if I can a few times or whatever. We'll see. And I might just try and wound a bit of this up and grind it off and whatever. And then if I get a chance, I'll come back down here and we'll finish it off. Then we'll run it through the English wheel a bit more. I can feel this, my boo-boo, when I cut it into the here instead of cutting the excess off this, just the way it sort of worked. It didn't quite have the grinder in the right direction. This kind of fits pretty, we're in the ballpark, if you know what I mean. If I have to do a couple of alterations to it, but I think it's good enough to weld up and sort of go the next step, if you know what I mean. We can do the a little tweak. We might just pinch this a bit further up or something like that. But you know, we can play with that a little bit. But if I weld this up and we really grind it up, clean it up pretty nice, then I can keep running it through the English wheel. That's where I like that little hand planishing hammer, because I like would do the same thing but would use the planishing hammer and just have it on a light power, and just that would smooth all that out. And yeah, we can just, as it sort of gets smoother and smoother, I can knock, if the welds are still a bit high, I can knock them down and we'll just keep going, you know, and then it'll push all the metal into where it needs to be and really smooth it out. But if we can get it reasonably decent and then just smooth it out, and like I said, even if we run it through the English wheel or whatever, just that's where the planishing hammer would have been good, especially if I had a when we call it thumbnail die. I don't know whether I could have shrunk this or not, but it probably could have, if you know what I mean, to a certain degree. Might have had to make it in a couple of stages, but what about a shrink? Well, this would have been run it in and shrink it, and run it in and shrink it, and run it in and shrink it until you got it to really gather up. You know, that's my thought on how this would have been. Well, not how this would have been made, but why it would have been able to make it. But I think we've got there within a certain degree, if you know what I mean. I might have to just maybe pinch this around a bit more. Now that I've actually run through the English wheel, it's actually stretched out a little bit. Get that back up in that hole. Yeah. Oh yes, it'll come around. Because I'll eventually, when we get this cleaned up, we'll get this in here and we'll weld this to this, and you know, dolly it up and whatever as well. We might have to just, I don't know, I might actually just cut this off and just nick this in a little bit further and just pull this edge around a bit. Looks like it's out a bit far. Maybe with English wheeling it's flattening back out of it. Not quite where I wanted it, but yeah, you can sort of see if I hold that flat against there, this is hanging out, so yeah, it's the right shape at the top, but this is a bit bulged still, but we can work on it. We might just have to do an extra, yeah, maybe if I just cut this off and just pull it around so we can just pinch that in a little bit further, just close it up a little bit, maybe even nick a little bit off this and just creep it in a bit. So I can always weld up the rest of it, if you know what I mean, and just leave this end one. Finish it off here. But I'm pretty happy with how that's going. It's getting really close. It's not quite the way and the prettiest way to do it, but sometimes it's just what you got to do. But anyway, I'll pause here, wait to see the end of this video, and then I can get a video up for you guys. Try and keep it more regular, and we'll go from there. So I hope it's not too dark.